The Panzura series of AEC cloud controllers sort of take the best of both of those sort of worlds into account. They provide very quick, easy to set up devices that are hardware-based that you can bring into your environment. They are technology neutral, meaning they work with any of your applications, not just AutoCAD or Revit or Microsoft Office. Anything that you want to run that stores files can be used with Panzura. It also does not impose any of the interoperability restrictions that you might find in some of the solutions. For example, in the sort of growing pain years of Revit coming online, Autodesk had released Revit Server, which worked exclusively with Revit files. So if you had background information or linked content, that really wasn't maintained by the same system. So you had to still deal with the traditional replication or slow centralization sort of solutions for that particular data, and you ended up with these sort of multifaceted solutions that again increase the complexity that end users had to deal with. Now, finally, with the cloud controllers, they're transparent to the end user. People do not need to change their workflows to immediately start seeing the improvements. So where does this benefit come from? Comes from a couple of places. We've got the ability for the content to be moved to a position that is relatively close to the user, and the Panzura proprietary technology, really solves that solution of file locking between devices who are in contention for that same resource. So when it comes to looking at Panzura as a solution, we try to identify who is this a good fit for. And so some of the things that we're finding, this is a good fit. Basically, if you've got multiple offices who frequently work with decentralized teams, meaning that you've got players in various geographies who need to work with the same sets of data in a real-time or near real-time scenario, likely in order to allow that to happen previously, you had invested in expensive private circuits or WAN technology infrastructure to do some form of collaboration. Or your collaboration is being dependent on sort of a jury-rigged free file service scenario provided by the big names in the game, Dropbox or the Usendits of the world. Maybe you've also already implemented WAN acceleration, but maybe just the compression technology didn't really solve the problems for you because you're still moving data between very great geographic distances. And so we don't want to depend on clever hacks to really solve this problem. And so what exactly is the problem, right? The problem is the distance. When stuff is far apart, what might normally be an insignificant effect of that distance becomes very large in proportion to the time required to complete a particular transaction. So for example, if light in a vacuum takes almost 33 milliseconds to go across the country, in a real-time application, that's horrible. In a collaborative environment, it makes for some rather unpleasant, unpleasant conditions. Now, add on top of that internet traffic and congestion and configuration, taking what could very easily be a two-office scenario on opposite coasts, having something in the range of an 85 millisecond delay between interactions, when you're trying to do things like open and save a file. We start to talk about this in terms of a work called latency, but let's sort of just call it travel time. The thing to remember with latency is no matter how big the pipe that you purchase is, it's the travel time itself that kills you. And so as the distance increases, this is it's sort of an inescapable fact of the universe. So what Panzura has achieved is a sort of a much more clever engineering way around the problem. So what did it exactly they do? They leveraged the content distribution networks of the people who can afford to put servers in major geographies to bring down that distance, right? So essentially what we're doing is we're decreasing the distance and therefore the latency between the person requesting the file or object that you're trying to get off of your network by leveraging the distribution environments that these big players have put into place. So, who can we use? Panzura currently supports many of the cloud service providers that are out there in the world. So you have your choice of the Googles of the world or Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure as a back end. And so our cloud controllers will connect to these cloud services as a storage mechanism, but the delivery of the content is always going to be near real-time localized copying.